So in this video, what we're going to do is to start with a small amount of money, let's say £10, and we're going to buy and sell and double our way all the way up to over £1 million. Now if this sounds familiar, it's because it's taken from the task in The Apprentice when Lord Sugar gives the contestants a certain amount of money, tells them to go and buy some products and then go and sell them. Those products that work, they go back and buy more. Those that don't, they just move on. And it's to see how much money you can make using that original pot of money. So in our example, we're going to start with just £10. By the way, if £10 is too much for you to risk, start with £5 or £1, or go properly hardcore and start with 1 penny. Buy it and do it right now. Okay, hang a minute. Do me a favour, like and subscribe. All right, I'll catch you later. Bye, Mum. Here are the details of the game. Now, from £10 to just over £1 million, it's 17 steps. So what you're going to do is to start with £10. You have to get your own £10 and you're going to use that to buy something that you believe you can sell for more than £10, ideally for 20. So there are 17 steps, 10 to £20, 20 to 40, to 80, 160, 320, 640, 1 to 80, and at that point it's actually 2,560, but we're going to call that £2,500. So from there to 5,000, 10, 20, 40, 80, £160,000, 320, 640,000, and then 1.2 million. Now that is 17 steps, and so we're clear, as you progress through this, tax will become applicable. So you're going to need to sort that out. In addition, you're going to have to figure out different strategies as you move through the game. So let me explain a little bit more about what I mean. When I've explained this to people before, there's always a couple of reactions. The first is excitement, because you can see a route now from £10 all the way up to well over £1 million. The second then is we start to think about what are some of the things that make this more difficult. I mean, if it was this easy, everybody would do it, right? Well, here's the thing. There are going to be challenges, and changing from £10 to £20 is going to be a different challenge from changing 160,000 to 320. But my suggestion is you don't worry about that. You focus on the first step and the step you're on only at any one stage. Part of this game is understanding all of the key skills you're going to need to start and run your own business. So take a moment to think about it. When you make your first trade going from £10 to £20, you have to source what it is you're going to sell. You have to figure out how you're going to sell it. You have to figure out where you're going to sell it. You have to figure out whether or not you're going to make the amount of profit that you need to make. And so we're absolutely clear, you can do multiple trades. So if you buy something for £10 and sell it for 15, that's okay. You can still use another £10, buy another of the same item, and sell it again for 15, and you've now made your way to 20. If when you double something, you go past that amount, that's great. You can go past a step or two. But key to this is understanding you don't need to figure out the whole process. You just need to work out the step you're on. Now let me give you a couple of live examples of when I've done this most recently. So my first stage was I found a small Swedish stove, tiny little camping item from I think about the 1950s. It was a beautiful little brass sort of tabletop item, and I saw it at a car boot and it looked lovely, and I picked it up. It was quite heavy and the guy wanted £20 for it. So here's one of the skills you'll learn from this game. We negotiated, and in the end I bought it for £8. Now there's my starting amount of money, and I sold it for well over £20, £25, £26 or something. So even with the eBay costs, I'd gone from 10 to 20. Now I'm on £20, and my next stage of course is to go from 20 to 40. But this is why I love this game so much. It forces you to start to see and find, seek out and work with business opportunities. I was talking to somebody who was emptying an office, and they had a whole load of stuff they wanted to get rid of. And there's quite a large size printer. Now I had Googled this printer and found that they often sold for £80 to £100 each. And I said to the business owner, what do you want for this printer? And he literally said, I just want to get it out. If you give me 20 quid, you can have it. So He took my £20, I took his printer. I listed it on eBay and we actually sold it at just past £90. So even with the costs of selling on eBay, you can see I had cleared £80 there. I had leapfrogged the £40. So now I have £80. What do I do with the £80? About a week later, I was at a car boot and I saw some tapestries that I just happened to know there's quite an interest in them. There's quite a following for this particular brand of tapestry. And the person selling them had 4 and she was selling them for £10 each. Now bearing in mind in my money pot I had £80. I bought the 4 for £10 each, £40. I've listed them and sold them separately at just over £200. In other words, I've gone from 80 to 160, there's the next step, but I've got some spare money as well. So I've actually now got £200 available, and that's going to help me do the 160 to £320 stage. Now at this stage, people often say, all right, I can see how you go from 10 to 20, 20 to 40 and so on. But what about when you get serious money? I mean, what about £20,000 to £40,000? You can't walk around buying Swedish stoves, can you? Well, you could do. You could decide that something you found is selling so well, you'll buy and sell multiple numbers of those. But then that starts to become more like a job, doesn't it? What you should be doing as you progress through the game is to understand that your strategy will evolve and change and adapt. So maybe by the time you're at this stage, you're starting to buy and sell vehicles, or perhaps you've moved into motorhomes since they're very, very trendy right now. Or even you're starting to buy and sell low-level properties that need some refurbishment. So let's say you had 30,000 in the bank, you might be able to find somewhere and buy it with all the legal fees for around about 22,000, use the remaining money to upgrade and refurbish the property, and then look to list and sell. Now, of course, all of these things are incurring taxes at this stage, they are incurring legal fees, and there are costs of sale and purchase. But what you can understand is there is a clear route through from buying at this price and looking to then repackage, resell, refurbish, and sell at a higher price. A couple of things you need to be wary of as you're going through this process. The first is you can't overuse your time. You see, you could spend hours and hours and hours and days and weeks and months trying to make something work, but all you're then really doing is exchanging your time for the profit you're looking to make. And key to this game is you don't spend a lot of your time doing it. You set up the deal, you do the deal, but the deal itself is what makes you the money. A second key component of this is you can't lend the game money. So in the early stages you might find something that is £85. You think, well, that's only £5 over, I'll put £5 of my own in just to help it along. You can't do that. It has to stand on its own 2 feet. You need to ask for the discount. You need to get it under £80. And the third key thing I need you to be wary of, when you are starting to negotiate with people, keep the game to yourself. What you can't do is to say to people, if you sell me this at this price, then I'm going to be in line for a big payout down the line and I'll give you some of that. That's a no-no. The game itself is what runs in the background, and the game is what gives you the structure to go through and make these deals. By now you might be thinking, I quite like the sound of this. This sounds fun. What are the risks? What do I need to be wary of? Could I possibly even do it? Well, the first thing is this. The risks are going to be that initial £10 you choose to play with. If you can't afford the £10, as I said, don't play the game, or start with a £5 or start with £1. But let's assume you can start with that tenner. What are the other risks? Well, there aren't really any, because even if you bought something for £160,000 and you couldn't sell it, all of that money by that point has been generated by the game. And the second big question is, are you able to do this? Do you have the necessary skills? Well, what I love so much about this game, and I've had the same conversation with so many people previously, is it actually teaches you the skills you're going to need. So think about it for a moment. By the time you've made any progress in this game, you've learned a lot of key business skills. You've learned about negotiating. You've learned how to lower a price when it comes to you buying, and you've learned how to price upwards when it comes to selling. You've picked up some skills about sourcing products that you want to buy. You've discovered some new ideas about marketing and promoting yourself and your product. In short, this game is a brilliant way to get started at a low risk, maybe even no risk way to start to understand a lot about how business works. What's going to stop you from giving this trading game a go? For many of us, it's not really knowing where to start. Where should you find your first few items? What would be a good thing to buy? How on earth do you possibly get started? Well, rather than thinking of the perfect item, just start to look. The Swedish stove I mentioned earlier, I happened to spot it when I was at a car boot, and it was one of those, I think other people would pay more for that if it was cleaned up moments. The printer was a similar example. Right place, right time, but just simply tuning yourself into thinking, how do I find these deals? Where should I go? You know about eBay and Shpock and Depop. You know about places like Car Boots. All you need to do is to start to have a look. Find those early items that you are pretty sure, if you were to buy them at this price, you could definitely sell them at a bit of a markup. So, if you're in, give it a go. Drop something in the comments, let me know a little bit about how you start, how you get on, what other questions you've got, and I look forward to hearing all about your successes.